Hey guys, excited about connecting with you here on Tuesday, the 15th of November. Hey, super excited to talk to you a little bit about a story that I'd like to share with you about a guy named Pat. About 20 years ago, my life was forever changed. I guess you could say that Pat saved my life. And my friend Pat was somebody that was not somebody that you would see as being a hero. He wouldn't necessarily be seen on the street, and you wouldn't look at him and say, well, that guy looks like a superhero or looks like somebody who could save people's lives. But Pat was a lifesaver. Back in 1996, I met Pat through another friend of mine named Matt, and Matt introduced me to Pat as being a guy that he really respected. Pat was in the business of developing leaders, and I had a chance to meet Pat. And Pat was not too much older than I was at the time, but he seemed like he had more wisdom in his life than I did. He had 5 kids, wonderful wife, and their family was a tremendous blessing to my life. But what Pat taught me in his life was not necessarily about what he said. What Pat did in his life is what taught me the most about what it means to be a great leader, what it means to be somebody that's well respected. In today's world, there's a lot of people telling people what to do. And for the first 20 years of my life or so, a lot of people told me what to do. And I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that they were trying to tell me how to live my life. And so I rebelled from that. I basically separated myself from those people. I didn't respect those people. But what Pat did was Pat found out what I wanted. He asked me about my life. He asked me about what my interests were. And he asked me really good questions. He asked me questions. He asked me about how confident I was in what I wanted and why it was important to me. And that made me attracted to him as a friend and as a leader. I began to spend more time with Pat. Pat invited me out to lunch and paid. Pat invited me into his family and made dinner. And food was the way to my heart back in those days. And I just continued to blossom from his service to me and his interest in me. Not his interest in his agenda, not his interest in what he had to say or what he wanted to accomplish in developing leaders. What he wanted to do was to find out what was important to me and to build a relationship. And I'd just like to ask you in your life right now, are you in search of the best interest in others? Are you looking at it from your perspective and what you want, or are you looking at it from what they want and how you could understand more of that before you're sharing what it is that you want? Leadership is a tricky thing, and in your life you may not necessarily dream of being a great leader, but oftentimes leaders have a lot of opportunities to influence the future. If you want to become a great leader, I would encourage you to start listening to what other people are saying, like Pat listened to me. Pat asked me great questions. Are you asking great questions of the people that you're spending time with? Or are you telling them things that are important to you, telling them how things should be or how things could be, versus asking them how they'd like them to be? And then helping them to see your perspective and why you see your perspective the way that you do. That's what attracted me to Pat. Pat also was a guy of service. He wasn't a guy of many words. He was a guy that basically served the needs of other people, myself included. One day, I was driving along, and I'm a California kid, and I'm in Iowa, and my tire goes flat. I don't have any gloves. I'm just in town for a little while. I'm not prepared for the winter weather. I call Pat. Pat comes out, and I asked him to bring some gloves, and he brought basically everything I needed and changed the tire for me. Pat also did some amazing things for me that was an investment in me. He was investing in my life. How many people are you investing into? If you want to be a great leader, you're probably going to have to risk some things. You're probably going to have to sacrifice some things in service of other people. If all you want to do is tell people where to go and tell people what to do, post things on Facebook as your formal way of leading people, that's probably not going to make you that influential or that significant. Life can be an amazing adventure in service of other people. Pat taught me that, and it changed my life. I began to see his perspective, and I began to follow his path towards becoming a great servant leader. I'm still on that path and continue to learn from my friend Pat. And I hope that these principles that Pat has taught me in terms of service to others and listening to others and asking great questions has inspired you to think about how you can improve your future, your leadership, in your life through listening, serving, and then applying that and showing people how to live a better life. Hope this serves you on a Tuesday. Have a great night, everybody.